Hi everyone, my name is Paris, and in this video, I'll share how you can create your own AI agent that can read your email, categorize those emails, and send a Slack notification based on the priority of those emails. So let's dive into our workflow and see how exactly it works out. So this is the workflow which categorizes the email. I'll simply test it to see how exactly it works. So what we'll do is we'll send an email to the Gmail account, which is associated with this particular workflow. Let's go to the Gmail account. I have actually drafted a email with the help of ChatGPT. I just asked ChatGPT to give me a high priority email. We'll simply send it. Okay, it's been sent. Now let's check our Gmail account. We'll hit refresh. Okay, not yet. One more refresh. Nothing yet. Price is the charm. Yes. So we got the email. We'll not do anything. We'll simply go back to our workflow and test the workflow. So it has received the email. It has started categorizing it and it's successfully completed. Now let's see what exactly it did. So the first thing which it did was categorize the email. As you can see, the email has been successfully categorized. We have added the labels that the email is from the engineering department, which is correct. It's an internal email because again, it's a company email, and the priority is word ending because it's a huge issue. We have also received a Slack notification. Great. And it thus says that the email is urgent and we can check the email by clicking on this link. Great. So we have executed our workflow successfully. Now I'll simply show how you can create this workflow and customize it and how exactly it works out. So yeah, let's dive into that. First, I'll explain how exactly this workflow works, and then I'll share how you can customize it as per your needs. So the first thing is we have a check email node that runs every minute and checks every new email which is coming through. So you can also customize it based on your requirement. You can set it up in a way that it runs every hour, every day, or every week. So as you can see that we received all the relevant details from the latest email. And as you can also see that we did receive the exact body of the email. So we can use that. Now what we will do, as we have received a lot of information, we have to make sure that we extract the necessary information which we need. So what we will do is we will combine everything, we'll aggregate all that information which we have received using the aggregate node, and then we'll pass all that information to our AI email categorizer so that it can understand the email body, the subject line and everything, and then categorize the email based on the priority, the department, whether it's an internal or a external email. So let me show you what exactly it looks like in the aggregator node. So this is the previous data from the Gmail node. What we did is we simply combined each and everything so that we can get one huge chunk of data. As you can see, it's everything in the data thing. So what we'll do is we'll use that information and pass it to the AI email categorizer. So we have set up the AI email categorizer by giving specific system prompt and how to respond and how to actually categorize the email. So you can also customize it based on your domain. As you can see that I have specified the domains which I have so that it knows any email which is coming from these domains should be marked as internal domains. Now, I've also given some guidelines on how to actually set up the priority and some rules on how to make sure that it associates the emails to the right department and to the right person. Again, you can customize this however you want. You can set it up in a way that it is specific to your department. Again, the possibilities are endless. So once we pass the information to the AI email categorizer, we get a certain output back. In our case, we are getting priority, department, source, and the name. So that is great. But again, sometimes it happens, the AI might give you information that you do not need. Sometimes it will add irrelevant text saying that here is the information which you needed, or here is the email category, something like that. To avoid that, we again pass the information which we have received from the email categorizer to a information extractor node. The job of the information extractor node is to ensure that we get the output which we want. Let me show you what exactly I'm saying. So we passed the previous response from the AI, and we told the information extractor, okay, we want only these relevant details, the priority, the department, and all other details. So we get an output which we can use later on to reference in our workflow. So now we have the necessary details. I'll just simply convert these categories or these outputs into a string. Again, you do not have to do it. You can simply pass it on to the next module. I'm just doing it so that I can search about this later on. So now we have categorized the email based on the priority, the department, the source, and the name. Now we have to check that whether the email is an external email or it's an internal email. So if it's an external email, the workflow simply ends here. It will just add a label saying external and we do not do anything. But if it's an internal label, we have a if node to actually check that. So as you can see, it did verify whether the email was from an internal source or an external source. That's why it's true. So once the email has been verified, it's an internal email, we make sure that we get all the existing labels which are already present in the Gmail account. There is a reason for doing that. I'll share it in a moment. So once we have all that information, let me show you how it actually looks like. So as you can see, we got all the label, we got the ID, and we got around like 31 or 33 items. And as you can see, the priorities, the labels and everything. So now what we have to do is we first have to actually check if the categories which the AI gave back to us actually exist in the existing label or not. So if the category was, let's say, or a priority was, let's say, urgent, was there a label by the name of urgent in the existing label? We have to check that so that we can identify what labels already exist and what labels do we need to create. In our case, what we are assuming that the person or anyone who's using this particular workflow has the label internal and external already added in their Gmail account, plus the priority email along with the priorities urgent, high, medium, low, bold ending already added in the Gmail account. So what we are working with is with the department and with the name itself. So now in our code module, we actually check, okay, what label do we have? What label we do not have? Again, do not worry about seeing this code. You can simply ask ChatGPT, okay, I need this JavaScript code to do this. In our case, what we are doing, we are simply checking if the label which was generated by the AI, they exist in the existing label in the Gmail account or not. So I'll show you how exactly this looks like. So first we are identifying, okay, what labels do we actually require? As you can see, these are the labels which the AI gave back to us and these are required. In our case, we didn't found any missing label. It means that all the labels which the AI categorized, they already existed in the Gmail account. So that's a good thing. I'll show you another example where the label does not exist. But as of now, we identified, okay, all the labels were present in the Gmail account. So now what we have to do is we simply have to create those labels. So what we do, we pass this information to the merge node. The job of the merge node is to aggregate all that information, whatever information which we got from the code node, and also make sure that we are getting the label ID from the previous node of get all labels. So we have the label ID so that we can correctly associate each label to the right email which we received. So the merge node will then pass all the information to the code module, whose job is here to only extract the message ID and the label ID from all the information which we have sent to the merge node. So as you can see, we sent a bunch of information and we extracted the message ID. The message ID is needed for the email where the labels will be added, and the label ID is needed for the labels which are supposed to be added in the email itself. So we have the label 39, label 40, label 113, whatever. So once we have those labels, then we can pass that information to the create label node. So we pass on the label ID. As you can see, we are passing all the label ID here, and we are passing the message ID so that it correctly assign all the labels to the right email. So as you can see, it has correctly added the labels. And we can see a small snippet here. And if you want to check how exactly it looks like, so you can go back to our email example and we can see it has marked the department as engineering. It has marked the email as internal. It has decided the priority. Now, if the priority is anything above high, it has been sending a notification to a Slack group or a Slack user. As you see here right now, that we received a notification in a Slack group saying that this is an important message. Please look at it. So this is how our workflow works for the labels which already exist in the Gmail account. I'll show you an example where the labels do not exist, so that the workflow has to create the label and then associate the created labels correctly to the email which we just raised. So what we'll do is we'll simply delete the labels which are already existing in the Gmail account. So in our case, it created the label as Department Engineering and Rachel. So we'll simply delete those labels. Let's remove them. And then we'll remove the department. It's engineering. Let's remove that. So what we'll do is we'll remove all the labels once again. So it will be a new email, but it will be just an email which has been created. But we can still pass it along in our workflow. So let's test our workflow once again. It's running, it's fetching the email. Great, it's categorizing. Now let's see what it does. Great. As you can see, it identified that two labels are actually missing. So if you can see this, let me just fix the window. Okay, I hope you can see this. We have missing label as Department Engineering and Rachel. So we have correctly identified that we have to create those labels. So once we have identified which label we have to create, we then pass it along to a module which checks actually whether the label is a sub-label or it's an independent label. What do I mean by a sub-label and an independent label? So as you can see, we have a label called department and we have different labels like communication, IT, operations, sales, and things like that. It just created engineering. Great. So we have to understand what kind of labels which we are creating, whether it's a sub-label or whether it's an independent label. So in our case, both the labels were actually missing. So this if node had both conditions true, like, okay, the department is also missing, but the name is also missing. So we create both the labels. So as you can see, we created the label, we got the label ID, and we got the label ID for the independent label as well. Now we'll follow the same process. We'll pass it along to our merge node. The merge node will simply extract all the label IDs and the message ID. So once we have all that information, we'll pass it along to our add internal label node so that it can add those labels. And once the label has been successfully added, it will simply check if the priority is urgent, high, or world ending. If it's either, then it will send a Slack notification, which it did in our case. So this is how our email categorizer work, and it can create labels. It can add existing label. You can also customize it based on your domain, on your department, and it runs 24/7 and without any issues. So this is our email AI agent workflow. Using this workflow, you can categorize any incoming email. You can set the priority. You can receive a Slack notification, and you can customize it based on your department, your needs, and make the customization part easier. I have shared a link in the description. By visiting that link, you will get access to the JSON file of this entire workflow, a step-by-step guide on how to set this up and how to customize it. Also a step-by-step guide for API documentation, using which you can connect your Gmail, your Slack, or any other AI tools which you're using. Now, if you have any questions or if you face any trouble, drop a comment. I'll be more than happy to answer all your questions. And please like, subscribe, and comment on this video. I'll be creating more of these videos. I'll be sharing my journey in my AI automation space. And I'll be sharing more and more resources which will benefit you guys as well. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.